Now, as I'm going through making my target list for when the Premier League comes out, the sort of cards that will add to my gallery that will help me get higher up in the leaderboard, whether it be limiteds or rares or anything like that, I wanted to go across the full Premier League and try and pull out one player from as many different teams as I possibly could that I think are going to be slept on quite early on in the auctions. Now, they might not all necessarily be out and out cheap budget buys at rare or limited level. They might even be quite expensive, a few of them, but their current form, profile, general position, by the time these cards come out, they will probably be in a less than optimal situation, and that's normally the best time for us to pick some cards up and get them into our squad so that when they do become optimal, we've already got them, we've ranked up the XP, and we've got them in our teams actually affecting the leaderboard. Now, if you're new to Sorare and you haven't even started yet, there's a link in the description in this video. Once you've bought 5 cards of any price and any scarcity from the auctions, you'll get a card for free. You can keep it, you can sell it, you can do anything you want with it. It's the best way to sign up, it's the way everyone signs up, and if you open a Sorare account and you haven't clicked that link and got your free card, you're one card worse off than everyone else. And if you've been around here for a while, again, you'll be quite used to making shopping lists and watch lists and all that kind of stuff. But with the Premier League, there's going to be so much noise, there's going to be so much a whirlwind around the launch of it, that having a few guys earmarked and itemised already that might be wee sneaky under the radar ones could give us that advantage to get a couple of cards in under the radar below market price. At any point in the video today, if you think about anyone that you would want to add into the conversation, drop them in the comment section of the video and I'd love to add them in. If you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe, share, retweet, all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble and let's get stuck into it. So I've actually found 2 goalkeepers. Primary goalkeeper, the one that I think is probably the most appealing that is coming on to the platform via the Premier League, and that is Gavin Bazunu. Now, Southampton at the moment are towards the bottom end of the league, and these goalkeepers generally won't catch many people's attention. But as soon as you look at Gavin Bazunu, the first thing you realise is that he is 20 years old. He's going to be an under 23 eligible goalkeeper until 2026. And after his breakout season at Portsmouth, I think it was last year, down in League One, he seems to have established himself as an Ireland international, as well as a player that should be operating within the Premier League, or maybe even the Championship, or maybe even in Challenger Europe. So he will be priced like a number 1 under 23 keeper. He will not be cheap at any scarcity, but for his age and his profile, as well as, you know, the situation at Southampton, they love to play young and up and coming kids. So as long as he's there, he's in with a good shout at getting played. I think he could be one of the power player under 23 goalkeepers. As you can see for Ireland, he's got some really good performances, getting over the 60-point mark, even without clean sheets on occasion. And for Southampton in the Premier League, again, bearing in mind that Southampton are towards the bottom end of the table, these are not awful goalkeeper scores. Added into the fact that he's under 23, they're actually quite valuable scores. Who might be a cheaper alternative than Bazunu is the other under 23 keeper that will be coming into the platform, and that is Ilian Meslier. Now, this France under 21 international goalkeeper has been long admired from a distance by Sorare managers because he has got great statistics for shot saving and all that kind of stuff. Leeds have been kind of up and down and all over the place, but since his time in the Premier League, Meslier has been a very credible goalkeeper at under 23 level. He can break 100, he can get into the 70s and the 60s without clean sheets as well. He makes lots of saves and he can be a match-winning keeper. And because he has that international youth pedigree as well, above and beyond and away from Leeds, he has such a great outlook for his career. He's under 23 eligible for another 2 years, a year and a half basically, from when he will be issued. So another huge under 23 goalkeeper that will be coming onto the platform, Leeds United. Now, in defence, I tried to find a few different profiles, maybe guys that are slept on, maybe guys that are not fashionable, a few different bits and pieces. But the number one that I think that could be slept on is Mark Israel Gay. Now, he is under 23 eligible until 2025. Although he is currently 22 at the moment, so it's just the way his birthday goes and all that good stuff. He's got one of those sweet birthdays that will keep him under 23 eligible for much longer, and this guy is tipped for big things. England career, huge transfer off the back of his form at Palace, you name it. Currently being at Palace in a mid-table team. His scores have been decent. They've not been that consistent. He doesn't have midweek football or anything like that, of course, but the early promise that he's shown, he should be staying in the Premier League as a starting centre-back, and ideally if he's leaving Southampton, he'll be moving up the table, he'll be moving up the ladder. And a defender that moves into a more defensively sound team should only see their scores improve. James Tarkowski comes into the unfashionable mould very much. Everton have started to arrest their form under Frank Lampard, and their form is improving. And Tarkowski, we know, has been a Premier League veteran for a number of years at Burnley, borderline Premier League legend with his defensive resume that he's got. And now finally Everton, we're starting to see some solid centre-back performances from him. And in this kind of form, he doesn't really drop below 55. He's not really breaking above 72 or so. But for that range, for a centre-back that's not always getting clean sheets on the regular, at 29 years old, he probably will be slept on, he probably will go quite cheap, and he probably will be quite an effective champion Euro defender piece. Now, Aston Villa have just appointed Unai Emery, and their situation might change for the better. I think one of the people that will be the big beneficiary of Unai Emery coming in could be Matty Cash. Now, Matty Cash is a Poland international as well, so you will get international utility from him. But since nationalising for Poland, he got linked to Atletico Madrid, and a few teams on the continent have now become a bit more aware of Matty Cash, and he might, depending on what goes on with Aston Villa over this year or two, he has a profile that could take him into Europe, is my point. And the fact that he is an international player, coupled in with his L15 but under 40, as well as all the other stuff I was just chatting about there, he could be very much slept on. And as we've seen on this matrix, a good attacking fullback in a good team can be an absolute power player of a scorer. And Matty Cash is very much in a depressed situation now that might turn for the better, depending on when we actually get the cards and where his form's at and stuff. Now, Christian Romero looks to be an Argentina international in the form that he had at Atalanta and now moving into Spurs. He has been wrestling with injury, but with the injuries currently picked up at the moment, he might not get a card initially, which is a little asterisk to add into this, but he definitely will not be priced in with the big hitters in the division straight off the bat because of that injury. And for when he is fit and available, this could be an amazing card to be plugging in. Like you can see, when he is fit and available, he just does green scores and nothing else. Playing in Antonio Conte's 3-5-2 in the right of a back three or so is, duck to water in that kind of situation. All you need is for him to be fit and firing. Tottenham are very firmly established now as a top four entity under Antonio Conte in terms of how they carry themselves and the matches they go into, the confidence that they have, and having a key centre-back in that type of outfit, I think could play massive dividends on the SO5 leaderboard. Now, Harvey Barnes at Leicester has been one of my favourite kind of neutral players to watch in the Premier League over the last couple of years. He's now no longer U23 eligible, and when he's in a team next to guys like Vardy and James Maddison, these types of guys, when the auctions come out, there's a fair chance that Harvey Barnes will be kind of slept on because he is O23 and his averages all look quite average. But when you actually drill into his scores, like Harvey Barnes can be very super effective. He has a kind of feast or famine card. He's either going to do 60, 70, 80, 90, or he'll do low 30s, high 20s, which is a real killer or a maker of a card. And sometimes that is actually a wee bit more of a problem than a help. But again, for the sort of price that he might trap himself into, Leicester are very much on a depressed situation themselves. They really need to arrest their form and get back to their best. His scores can only really improve in the current standings for where it's at. And again, he does have a great profile to maybe even move into an elite European football team because of what he does off the ball as well as on it. And there's always some loose shouts from it getting to the England squads and stuff like that as well. So Harvey Barnes, I think if you're after a decisive, capable midfielder in the Premier League, he could be probably very affordable and quite under the radar quite early on. In a similar type of vein, I am desperate to get my hands on an Alexis McAllister of Brighton and Hove Albion. The Argentina international, he's got the most Scottish name ever, and Alexis McAllister, he looks super Scottish as well, but look at his scores over the last 3 months. He has been deadly. He takes a lot of the set pieces. He's a real talismanic creative player for Brighton. He is U23, does not look it. He's only U23 for the remainder of this football season. But he's somebody that I probably wouldn't mind plugging into my team because of how reliable he is to play every week, as well as the actual points that he accrues and how he accrues his points. Reliable and repeatable. And that's what you want from big scorers, is that they can reliably repeat their big scores. Now, Newcastle are making headlines and flying high for all the money they're spending, etc., right? But one of the mainstays in the team has been Joe Willock, and when you look at his form this season, it's not been that great, but he is still a consistent starter. He's still in their best 11, and he still seems to be contributing to the team if he's not getting actual goals and assists as of yet. He does have it in his bag, and I think when he's on form, he's one of the best attacking English midfielders in the Premier League. And the way that Newcastle are evolving and developing, if he can stay a main part of that team, it's only a matter of time before his form flips around. And for a guy who is under 23 for another year and a half in a high spending team that should be scoring lots of goals as the season goes on and getting stronger with every passing transfer window, hopefully his outlook only gets better. And again, because he's not Bruno Guimaraes, because he's not Trippier, he's not Alan Saint-Maximin, he will probably go a bit cheaper, and again could probably plug in and be a bit more effective for many more SO5 lineups out there. Quite similar to Harvey Barnes, I think that Bernardo Silva is probably going to be quite slept on as well, mainly because of the whole Pep roulette aspect. You just don't know, is he starting, is he getting 90 minutes? And that's the main problem with Man City in any fantasy football. But Bernardo Silva is very much a key player in the big matches, and you know, when the fixture list isn't as congested, Pep always finds a place for him in his team. His scores haven't been that incredible over the last 3 months, but being a mainstay attacking player in the Man City team throughout the full season, you will catch some big scores eventually, you know, and he will contribute to very good teams because he's, again, not Phil Foden, he's not De Bruyne. There's many other pieces that are maybe a bit more reliable and have a slightly higher ceiling on where they can score. I think Bernardo Silva might go a little bit under the radar. If you're after a kind of just below premium end, decisive, capable midfielder in the Premiership. And then up front, right, trying to find guys that are going to be in a nice situation to maybe try and pick up is quite difficult in the Premier League because it's about goals and assists at the end of the day for this position. Now, the first one for me is Gabriel Martinelli, who is one of the talks of the town at the moment, but his SO5 averages are not that great. He's very decisive dependent. If he's not getting goals and assists, his scores are bang terrible, to be quite frank. But with him being one of the main guys in this Arsenal team that is surging up the table, claiming plaudits left, right and centre, they've now got Europa League out the way. Obviously, the World Cup's coming up, yada yada, all the rest of it. But I think Martinelli is going to be one of the key players as Arsenal season continues on. And with his demonstrable ability to get goals and assists, I think it's only a matter of time before his form does turn around and then we see a really solid L5, a really solid L15 that's packed up full of like 8 or 9 goals and 5 or 6 assists. A striker like that will trade for much more on the secondary market, and you'll be very much glad that you've had him in to catch those scores rather than seeing these scores happen and then go out and buy him for more money, and then you can't use the scores retrospectively because he's already played them, you know. Now, in terms of taking a shot on somebody that could go mega, I don't think my last 2 shouts are this profile, right? But number 1 is Jadon Sancho. Now, Jadon Sancho in the Bundesliga, zoom out, right, and look at all of his scores on SO5. In the Bundesliga for Borussia Dortmund was an 80 plus, 90 plus demon. Multiple decisives in every game, and it's just not quite happened yet at Manchester United for him. He's coming into the team. There's a bit of a rotation policy. There's obviously teething issues with him and Ten Hag and all that kind of stuff. I accept that. But as soon as Sancho does cement into this team, he should be the key creative force in the wide positions for Manchester United, which should mean they are going to be getting top 6, top 5. He should be getting double digits goals and assists every season, as well as going on to be a main man for the England national team. Now, if things don't actually work out for Man United, he will go back to the continent. He might go back to Dortmund, maybe he goes to Spain, maybe he goes somewhere else, but he will move abroad and he will be amazing out with England if he doesn't cut it there. I don't think he's going to be cheap for a long time because he's got such a high profile at Manchester United as well as in England, but I think his price will be cheaper to begin with than what it will go on to become. And the same is true for my last one, and that is Raheem Sterling. Obviously a big transfer to Chelsea in the recent window, leaving Manchester City, and he's not quite done that great at Chelsea yet, you know, but Sterling, when he's absolutely on his pomp, again, this is a guy that should be breaking 20 goals a season. This is a guy that could be pushing for 20 assists a season. He's so selfless, he's got such amazing pace, and he's been playing Premier League football for so long now, you know. I don't think you're taking much of a roll of the dice on assuming that Sterling's form will catch at some point at Chelsea. It will improve. And again, a striker like that should play every game for club and country and can get into the 20s quite feasibly on goals, assists, all this kind of stuff. Again, His L15 at the moment is 45, his L5 is 39. He will be expensive from minute 1 because of his profile, but the SO5 pricing doesn't seem to be there initially, so he could be got maybe even at limited level, right under market value. So with this team, I've managed to put together from one player kind of from each team, 223 goalkeepers, 4 quite exciting, quite solid defenders, as well as 1, 2, 3, 4 midfielders in the same mould, and then we've got 3 strikers that play, can do it, and just aren't quite doing it on a regular basis at the moment. I think that team in Champion Europe, that squad, it'll probably cost a fortune to build it all, right? But I think it could be very effective, and without having De Bruyne's, as I say, and all the big power players in the division, I think the Premier League, as much as it doesn't have too many meta cards, guys that are just OP, incredibly amazing, Sorare fantasy football scoring, I think there's enough quality cards here that could definitely get you up and running in the region or even in All-Star and get you fighting for cards and get you fighting for prizes. Let me know in the comment section who your suggestions would be for like day 1 Premier League, who could be the under the radar buys. I'm looking forward to reading them in the comment section of the video. At any point in this video, if you did laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe, share, retweet, all the good stuff. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.